in the world of doing good, sometimes we got to check the ego at the door, because if we really want to do good versus starting something that got our name brand on it, why don't we just help the people that's already doing the work? Mm-hmm. So versus us creating another food pantry or something like that, like how do we continue to help the helpers? And sometimes that's that check that we have to do as people, because it's already, like you said, it gets overwhelming when you got a lot of the same people doing the same things, but then they're jockeying for the same donations.
Yeah.
So nothing gets done.
Welcome to another episode of The Den. I'm Eric Whitener, broker owner of the Knox Real Estate Group, and today I have a very special guest. Derrick and I, we've known each other for a few years. What kind of brought us together is actually going to be the end focus of this podcast today. We're going to definitely talk about some cool events that you're going to want to know about, so hang around to the end. But my guest today is Derrick Furlow Jr. He's an inspirational speaker and author. We're going to just kind of jump into it. But one of the things I'm excited about, you're the first former Tennessee football player that I've had the pleasure of interviewing on the show, which is exciting because right now Tennessee football is exciting.
It is very true.
So correct me if I'm wrong. You were a defensive back for Tennessee from 2005 to 2009.
Correct.
Okay. So interesting timeline, because anybody who's been following Tennessee football for a while knows what happened during that time. So you got to be coached by one of the great coaches.
Yep.
Philip Fulmer. What was that like?
That was incredible. So before we even go, I'm gonna correct it. I got coached by a couple of great coaches.
Okay.
Everybody in Tennessee might not agree with that on the back end, but
that's fine. They don't have to.
They
don't have to. Right?
But Coach Fulmer, legendary coach here. Spent a lot of time. He put in a lot of work. Helped build the legacy that Tennessee is known for in a lot of people's eyes today, outside of General Neal and Coach Majors on the front end. So definitely an honor, and you don't get a chance to have too many coaches that have done that and put that type of work in and that body and built something that's powerful, and I guess the magnitude with that presence that Tennessee is known for when you see that teal hair rocket top across the country.
Yeah, well, it's definitely special. Not too many people get to walk out on that field.
True.
What was it like playing Tennessee football?
Well, the very first time you're out there, you're nervous because you think everybody's looking at you.
Fair.
but in reality, I've concluded everybody's not even looking at you. Everybody's in their own world. Like that's low key egotistical. When you think everybody's watching you, my first pregame warm up, we're doing warm up, and I dropped the ball, and I'm like, oh crap, it wasn't even full yet. It was like 60,000 people. Like, they saw me drop the ball. Coach like, Furlow, what are you doing? And then I realized, I'm like, hey, I was kind of embarrassed. I was supposed to catch the ball, and I realized people ain't even paying attention. Like, they're getting snacks and beverages and enjoying their kids. So that was the first. So that was an eye-opening experience. Then outside of that, when it's loud, it's loud. Like you can't hear. So it makes you appreciate the preparation that we go through, having to learn signs and signals, because we can be side by side and you can't even, the words don't even move. You just hear vibrations. So that's one of those home field advantages that is real.
Yeah. On the flip side, was it 2 years ago? We went to the Tennessee-Georgia game at Georgia. And that's obviously a smaller stadium, but they were vicious loud. And that's when you really start to get it. You're like, man, so it does have an impact on the game.
Absolutely.
And then I was just like, well, these people be quiet. like they can stop. Like, nobody has the ball right now. But they were like vicious loud the whole game. So they were scared, and they should be. Yeah. They should be scared.
Intimidation factor, got to be loud. That's real.
So obviously football, because this is going to play into, I think, a lot of this conversation, because it started your career to where you are today.
Absolutely.
But I'm gonna back. We're going to kind of bounce it. You also, a lot of people talk about the football players, but you were also a student.
Yeah, absolutely. It's called student athlete.
Student athlete. Yeah. And so I think it's awesome. You earned a degree in legal studies and a master's degree in sports psychology.
Yes, sir.
Um, that whole thing again, we're gonna as we continue to talk, is gonna I think play very well. Football in college was a great path, a great starting path to everything that you have going on today.
Man, I believe for anyone in general, college is a good place to figure out what you want to do. Now, if you can do it without accumulating debt, that's even better.
Yeah.
If not, sit down somewhere and figure that out. But in general, football was that stage, and you still got to go to class. That's why they call it student athlete. I know a lot of people might call it professional student athlete now because students are able to get paid. But in general, you still got the class part. So outside of juggling the practice and film study and mastering your craft, you still got to master your grades so you can be eligible to play. And in that process, based off how school is set up, if done right, you're typically there year round at most universities, definitely at this level. So if you don't drop a class, you don't fail a class, you're most likely going to be on track to graduate early. And then if you do graduate early, being a first generation college student, like, okay, well, you graduate early, you still got to take classes to continue to play. So you can take any classes that you want for fun or leisure, or if you're smart and you think about it, all right, why don't I work on my master's? And in my case, it happened to be that way, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do because football was a dream and a goal. But as I looked at the courses that they had available for a master's class, I asked them which ones don't involve taking a test to get into. Sports psychology was one of them. It sounded interesting, so I got in it, and one of the best things I ever did, I had a chance to learn the psychology of sports while actually playing, which was a game changer. So it was not necessarily like a plan I had. It just, that's the dynamics of academics at a high level. If you're playing sports and you're pretty much there year round, don't drop class, don't fail a class, and it puts you on track to do some awesome things from a student perspective.
Well, okay, so man, the questions are just running through my head. Do you feel, having been through that experience and taking like literally full advantage of that experience, did you also see? I'm assuming you saw fellow teammates not take full advantage.
Absolutely.
Why? Why is that?
So it's a couple things. When you're young, you come in with this ego, and you know that the league is going to work out. It's going to be the end goal. Well, you get a lot of guys that come before you that don't make it, and you can always be that person and say, no, that's not going to be me. And then you could just take a reality check and say, that could be me. And if that is the case, knowing you got all these resources, knowing you got to go to class anyway, knowing you're going to take classes anyway, why not take ones that count and that'll put you on track to graduate? A lot of them might have just took classes. They helped your GPA, but they don't put you on track to graduate.
Right.
They are easy for you to take. And some of this is encouraged by coaches, changing your major or just taking these easy classes so you can stay academically eligible, but they don't put you on track to graduate. And if you don't have backbone or don't have a game plan of, okay, what this thing could look like, or just don't talk to the right academic advisor, you might not necessarily get the right guidance, or if you have not just determined your own thought processes of, hey, I'm going to be here anyway, I want to take something to help me graduate. So it's a plethora of things that you see, and then being real, some guys, you come in and the academic caseload, you might not be prepared for it.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of variables to it, but most of the time it's just you thinking on your own terms and realizing, okay, I got to go to class somewhere, let me maximize.
It seems like a double-edged sword. Like, you want to play football, and obviously that's a big goal. Football gives you the opportunity for higher education, which is what most people's goal. Like, they come here this way, but you get this opportunity to have kind of both. But in order to do this one, you might neglect this one.
That's what you sign up for, though. And you can't do one without the other. It's because this is the kicker. The school gonna be there at the sports, what? So you got to take care of the school.
Yeah.
The sport can't be there if the school ain't there, unless you're professional.
Yeah.
So it's the nature of the beast. You know what you sign up for when you come. Now, whether you take advantage of it, that's a different story.
Well, so in today's world, you mentioned now we have professional student athletes. What's your thoughts on? Obviously, we didn't have NIL back then. We have it now. What's your thoughts on that?
It's well overdue. From my playing days to guys that came after me, into guys that came before me, you out there putting your body on the line, and the jersey sales, the ticket sales, all those things go benefit the school, but your body is the one that's getting banged up for it. Now, people will say, well, you get a degree for it. Well, hey, everybody's getting a degree.
Yeah.
But all the extra revenue is coming because you're playing.
A lot of revenue.
A lot of revenue.
A lot of revenue.
Exactly. So at that point, it's like, I got to struggle to get by financially when I'm in college, but all this money is coming in and people buying these jerseys with players' names on it, and it's not a revenue share, or you're not getting a percentage of that, and it's all going to the powers that be, and it's illegal for somebody to help me out, and I'm struggling, and I got a family situation back at home, and I can't help them out, but my jersey can be in this store, and I can't even afford to buy my own jersey, but y'all can sell hundreds of thousands of them and get paid for. Like it didn't make sense. So I'm thankful for it. Now just got to have some system in place to help the athletes along the way, to educate them, because it just sped up the process. They need to be more financial literate, understand taxes and all those things while in this process, so then they're more developed, because the money coming fast, it only makes you make faster mistakes unless you become educated faster.
And I want to definitely hit on that part, because I think that's on point for some of the later topics here, especially kind of like your career path that you've gone and what you've helped athletes with. I find the whole dynamic interesting. Given NIL, obviously, I think has kind of helped Tennessee a little bit. What's your thoughts on our team today?
Well, we're undefeated right now. Guys get it. Name, image, and likeness allows guys to, if they understand name, image, and likeness, you don't want to mess up your name, image, and likeness, so you tend to stay out of trouble.
I've already kind of noticed that we're not in the paper as much as we have been in the previous years.
Now you're gonna have some guys that's gonna have egos either way it go. But based off these contracts and the verbiage in there, if their name, image, and likeness is tarnished, that costs you in this contract that you have with your school or with the collective. So now you got to move a little differently, which keeps guys out of trouble, and allows guys to grow up, or they just do it and maybe don't do as stupid of things. But you're still young, you're still a kid.
Oh yeah.
I mean, so you do stupid stuff, but you can taper that back a little bit, because you got more to lose. Even though you always had something to lose with your scholarship and your reputation.
Well, now you got
reputation with some money.
Yeah, and in some cases, a lot of money.
Absolutely.
And Tennessee, obviously, right now on fire. Looking forward to, these upcoming games. We still have a stretch of some hard games.
Absolutely.
Talking about the getting beat up on the field. That last game, that player. I mean, I saw the video again the other day where he busted up his leg of Oklahoma.
I didn't even watch it, so yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what, it was flopping all over the place.
Yeah, but I don't even look at replays when they show anything like that.
Man, and then I think about that.
Absolutely, you see that?
That kid may never play again.
There you go.
So yeah, pretty wild. So you played football. You played under Fulmer. You experienced also Fulmer leaving.
Yeah.
So you kind of went through all of that transition. Graduated, and how long ago was it from graduation till you decided to write your book?
It was 6 years.
6 years.
Yep.
And for those of you listening, the book is What's Next? How to Transition Like a Champion. So let me see if I got this right. It's a self-help book aimed primarily at college and professional athletes who have left their sport or are preparing to leave and seek guidance as to what they need to do next. I feel like, and I've read the book, I feel like that topic is going to become even bigger now that we have
Absolutely
NIL.
Absolutely.
And so that's why the whole thing's kind of interesting. I mean, you got a sports psychology degree. You wrote this book, which I'm sure that kind of played into it.
Man, look, if you would have said I planned that, it'd been wrong. That was all a God thing. I did not know that sports psychology was going to be as beneficial to me as it was, and having the master's in it was going to work out. And that 6 years later, this thing that kept bothering me for 6 years of helping my peers was going to turn into these ideas that turned into a book.
So the motivation behind the book, were these purely internal struggles, or was it I'm witnessing all of my peers? Was it external struggles that you were like, hey, we need to like get this out here?
It was a little bit of both, except for I was a little bit more aware, so I was able to figure mine out. But in the world of athletics, your peers or your friends or your family, that's who you're around. And with that being who I was around on the front end and on the back end, when I was done playing and had a chance to have some success in the corporate sales space, and I took some things I learned from the game that they had equipped me with tangibly, I knew I wasn't special. I just knew the game gave me some intangible transferable skills. And at that point, I'm like, why aren't all the athletes that I played with that came before me and that's going to come after me able to have this type of success after their sport? And it came down to no one ever spoke their language or gave them the lingo that they can relate to and correlate from their sport into the corporate game.
Yeah.
And I just happened to be able to understand it and realize there's no tool that actually can speak the language correctly. So let me create the tool because it's needed. And I was early on the tool because for the most part, no one really cared.
Yeah.
But now it's finally the world waking up to the tools and the resource that I actually needed.
Well, so I kind of when I was thinking about this, I kind of compared it. There's some parallel with people in the military.
Yep.
And people in sports because you're running this rigorous schedule. You're kind of almost told
What to
do. There's this high competitiveness to it. And then one day you're just out there.
Yep.
Right? Like
Civilian life.
Civilian life.
No guidance, no structure, no nothing.
And it's very interesting. Now, I've seen, obviously I'm in the world of sales. You went into the world of sales. My world is very interesting because, so the majority of real estate agents get into the business, what is it, like 85% of them are out within 3 years.
There you go.
Right? And when I talk to people and I say, well, hey, number one, if you just show up, right? Like there's these basic minimums. If you show up, if you answer your phone, if you call people back, if you learn some of the data, if you take some classes, like the bar is so low that if you just do this minimum level, in sports and in the military, you have this schedule. We're gonna show up to practice. We're gonna do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
People get into real estate and they're like, oh, I want time freedom. Now, if I interview an agent, if I'm interviewing you and you say, hey, I got into real estate because I want time freedom.
You can have time freedom and be broke because you ain't doing the work to sell nothing.
You don't know this, but you've already told me. If you say time freedom, you've already told me you're not a good fit. And what I'm going to transition the conversation to is other brokerages. Yeah. Hey, I appreciate you being here. I'll tell you what, honestly, after talking to you, I feel like a couple of these other brokerages may be a good fit for you. Because I'm not looking for time freedom people.
Right.
I'm looking for people who are committed to a process and who want to be successful. And so, like, I could see how hard that would be. It's interesting because given that experience, like I read when you were writing the book, you said I took what I learned from my days being coached and I applied them to writing this book.
Absolutely. The same thing that got into sales. It was the exact, but they have a lot of people that come back and speak prior, and a lot of them got great success in other things, but never played the sport. So when they come back and they communicate, they're using big words and they're not speaking in lingo that athletes relate to. So it goes over their head. I sat in some of those rooms, so I knew y'all pay this guy a lot of money, this female a lot of money. And what they're saying is great, but they're missing it.
Yeah, they're not connecting.
They're not connecting. So that was the whole point of the purpose of the book and the work I do now, because it's really, you got some of the most high functioning individuals that are capable of success in anything and that's willing to put the work in anything, but the lingo or how to go about doing it is not there, because a lot of times they feel like all the work they put in it's useless or wasteful because it's not going to get applied to their sport at the professional level even in reality, those same intangible transferable skills, if they was able to take them away, correlate them, and carry them over to another game or another sport, another business,
Yeah.
they can have that success.
Well, and we've seen it. We've seen it. There's great examples. Even in my world, like people come out of the military, make great real estate agents because they're disciplined.
Yep, discipline is big time.
Right. And I've seen it with athletes. Now obviously a lot of them. What helps is also that name, image, and likeness.
There you go.
They already have
brand already.
They already have that brand. But if they also apply, just like we're talking about, they apply that discipline to the work, like you're going to be successful.
Absolutely.
I would say another struggle would also be identity.
Yes, big time. Because a lot of times you don't know who you are outside of what you do. And the biggest part of that is you've been called an athlete, a basketball player, a football player, a tennis player, a track athlete so long, you forget that you're multifaceted and you get caught up in that label. And once you are no longer playing that thing, if you've been called that thing for 15 years, a nurse for 15 years or for 20 years, you got to start realizing who you are outside of that title that's on there. So the moment you get a chance to realize who you are outside of what you do, and then realize you have other things other labels that you can replace that with, or just remove all labels and realize, hey, you're multifaceted and you're good at more than one thing. It helps you get past that identity crisis. But for the most part, you're going to go through it because that's who you were so long. You have to die to that. And that's the first death as an athlete, because that's no longer who you are. And then you get a chance to reinvent yourself. And you can move all those labels, and then you can go be all the other things that you wanted to be or that you're capable of doing that you might have suppressed or put off. And I found myself, I was the one doing chants and rallies and stuff for the longest, and I found myself, I was a motivational speaker disguised as a football player for all my life until football was gone.
Yeah.
So you never know what things you're already doing that are purposeful, that you're passionate about, that you put here to do, because the athlete title is the main, most dominant one. So just being able to help them understand that.
It's really interesting. I think we do lose ourselves in our. I mean, there's good things that come from losing ourselves into what we do.
Right.
Because greatness can kind of come from there, but and not to use like terms that get overused these days, but how we identify ourselves. Right. Like I'm Eric. I help people buy and sell homes. Right. Like to say I'm a real estate agent. No, I'm Eric. Right. I help people buy and sell. It's what I do.
Right.
But
not who you are.
Not who I am.
That's facts.
So that's awesome. Now, your book, number one, what's the best place for them to go get that?
Go to DerrickFurlow.com or Amazon.com, or it's probably on the phone. I read it to you in Audible. So all the above, Audible.com is everywhere.
I did not know there was an Audible version. That's awesome. So if you're in Audible, like if you're one of those people, what's next? How to transition like a champion. I think this book is going to start, or books like this need to start given to younger and younger people.
Absolutely.
Kind of that whole NIL thing. I was thinking about it. If I'm an athlete, if you're playing from a young age, and your goal is, at a young age, it's to be on the high school team. And then when you're in high school, it's to get to that college. But now you think about the pressure. It's not only to get to the college. Right. It's to get to college and to get an NIL deal.
Right.
Right? At a young age, that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of work. And again, at such a young age. I mean, the male mind's not fully developed until we're like, 24, 25?
Right.
So we're processing this like, I need to achieve. It's just very interesting.
And so I would say it's because it's fascinating. When I was growing up and playing the sport, it wasn't the word pressure wasn't really a thing, because it was the outcome that I wanted. That was the vehicle that could change my family's life.
Right.
That was the vehicle that could provide. So when it comes down to all the work, like that's just part of the process. That's the work. Now, we use the word pressure because in reality, it really is. But I think most of the time, as a athlete, when you get to a certain point, that's just a part of the process. Like the work is the work.
Work is the work.
Because you know what you're signing up for. But the world uses it as pressure. But you know what you go to the SEC, you know you're on a big stage. Like you come to Tennessee, you know it's 100,000 there. Like you go to certain places, like you know the TV and the cameras and the lights gonna be like. So you going for that. So putting in the work, it's not necessarily the pressure because you probably got a bigger goal on the back end. So I think what happens these days is being able to educate the athletes earlier on the game, the business of the game. Because as of right now, I was playing the game because I want this outcome. But now it's a business of the game that you are already in it. Now it's just real with name, image, and likeness. And if you don't understand the rules to the game, it's hard to play. It's hard to play in a business setting.
Which comes down to a lot of that's a financial education, right? You like at a young age, you're a football player, but now you have to, or a soccer player, basketball player, whatever kind of player. But now you need to understand marketing. You need to understand finance. You need
decision making.
Your decision making. You need to, like, who do I want to tie my brand to?
There you go.
How like there's so much to know and do.
That's the education piece. Those are rules to the game. So it's more things you can be learning now, and the more you learn them, the more you're more equipped, and then it keeps you from getting caught in some sticky situations where things don't turn out because you don't understand the dynamics of the contract, or you didn't learn the game. And some people are not here to empower you; they're here to tell you what to do or control how you do it. But the more we can educate the youth and athletics on business in general, because they're already in it, they just don't know that they're in it.
Right.
We was already in it. We just didn't know we was in it.
The future, like, there'll be students who will leave college with a degree that's already been paid for through their scholarship, and potentially they could have a small nest egg.
Absolutely.
Which could be, at that age, life-changing if handled correctly.
Absolutely.
And we currently have a system that doesn't teach
Absolutely
any financial education at all. Yeah. Which is why, and we also live in a society where it's, Beamers and jet skis and, like it's flash and buy expensive stuff. So I think it's very vital and important. Because again, this could generationally life changing. A person puts some money in the right account at the age of 22, 23. By the time they're in their 40s, they be millionaire.
Right.
And never have to actually pick up another ball the rest of their life.
Right.
I think that's awesome. Where you're big into helping other athletes, where do you find or come across these people? How do your paths cross?
I'm fortunate enough that athletics, like I don't even think about it that much because that's already like my world. My peers are athletes, majority of them. There's a lot of them that's not, but majority of them are. So it's really it's a relationship thing, like little brother, little sister, big brother, big sister. So along those conversations, you realize that you may have some insight that need to be shared, or they might have some insight that need to be shared. And if we've already made these mistakes and learned these things, why wouldn't we pay these things backwards to those that's coming behind us? So that's kind of the natural progression of why I move the way I move and why the guys and females around me move the way we move, because we realize we done figured out some things the hard way. Why not equip them and educate them so they don't have to do the same thing? Now, whether they listen or not, different story.
I was going to say there's definitely two types of people. I've always been a big fan of learning from other people's mistakes. But then there are other people that
they gotta learn from themselves.
Yeah, no matter what, they're just gonna do their own thing.
I'm able to identify that, and we can call it what we call it.
Fair.
And that's it's all good either way it go. No hard feelings.
So you were also in 2020 nominated Greater Knoxville Business Journal's 40 Under 40. What was that? I'm talking about. I mean, I've never had anything like that. Like, what was that experience like? What did you know that was coming? Was it a surprise? Like, how?
Yeah, it was a surprise for one. It was a humbling and honorable experience for two. And then it was during the pandemic, so it was weird. We took a picture with a mask on. So like, do you smile with a mask on? Or do you not? But it was really cool, a really unique experience. To even be considered, I never prior to that. I don't know what qualifies you for that type stuff. But my name was thrown in there, nominated, and I guess based off the work that had put in, some qualified me. I don't know, and I was selected, so that was really cool.
Well, if I had to say, it's because you were making an impact on people's lives, and
probably so.
And it was noticeable. It is noticeable. That's interesting. So once from there, what comes with being 40 under 40?
Well, so that's fascinating because I think we got slighted in 2020. Like
a lot of people got slighted in 2020.
Look, like I think 2020 had it was the best year of your life or the worst year of your life. A lot of great things happened in 2020. A lot of bad things happened in 2020. Yeah. But one of the good things I see is it even the playing field. If you was in a place you didn't want to be, you hated your life, you hated your job, it was a good reset. If you didn't reset, you just made excuses and you stayed where you are.
Right.
So in that time frame, we didn't do the 40 under 40 gala, whatever the real word is. We didn't do like the active get together events. So what really comes on the back end of that, I'm not really sure. But from a online presence, I guess if somebody were to Google, then that comes up. So who knows who's Googling me when I'm walking in certain rooms. So that brings a level of credibility.
Yes.
For whoever those people may be that may already be judging me by my hair or how I look or that I play ball. Now they give some type of credibility there. So I'm not sure what I'm not able to quantify it, but I'm pretty sure something came with it.
It sounds like to me that you guys, the whole class of 2020 for that need to have a, because I would say there's got to be something that comes from being that group. Right?
I would assume it does.
And the networking of the other people who were in that same...
We didn't get a chance to do all that.
Yeah, that's crazy. I would maybe that's something we ought to work on.
Yeah, we need to work on that. We need to have a replacement 2020 40 under 40 event, or when they have the annual one, we got to come back together for sure.
So moving right along, again, so like guys, if you just get on Google and you put in Derrick Furlow Jr., number one, I'll say, and I know you won't necessarily, you're not here to give yourself props, but I will say that, not everybody's bio is super clean. A lot of great stuff comes up when you search Derrick Furlow Jr. And that's awesome.
Appreciate it.
It also takes work. I can't say the same. If you Google me, I don't know what you'll find.
That's real. That's real.
So one thing it like popped up, like I went to like your social media, and I didn't even know you were involved in this. So I want to know more on Rise.
Mm-hmm. So On Rise is an athlete mental health company. We saw the problem, and the problem is traditional mental health care doesn't work for athletes. So being an athlete, was able to partner with my partner, Dr. Quigley, who is a psychiatrist, and we just said, how do we bring the doctor and the athlete together and create a athlete mental health care program that actually works, because it's for the athlete by the athlete. And that was the name of the game. Like I told you earlier, a lot of times people come in and speak to athletes, but it goes over their head. Well, when it comes down to traditional mental health care, it was designed to professionally get a job done, but the people that made the format either were disconnected or didn't ask the athletes how they want to receive the care.
Yeah.
And if you don't ask them how they're going to receive the care, now you got a program in place that is not being used, so you're still getting tragic situations happen because they're not reusing it.
It's interesting how communication is. I say this to Terry Joe often. I was like, communication is the hardest thing we do. Mm-hmm. Even amongst husband and wife, like in our office, anywhere you want to be. But I I could talk to you, and I could tell you all sorts of great things, but if it's not in a way that you receive it,
Right.
it just doesn't matter.
It don't matter.
So being able to get on one's like level or
That's
in their
it.
world,
Meet them where they at.
and yeah, and to be able to even use maybe the you want the stories to be relevant. You want the like but it's amazing. I never really thought about that, but I've been to conferences. I've been in sales for a long time, and there's some where I'm just like this.
There you go.
This ain't it.
That's it.
You know.
That's it.
So it's interesting. I think it's awesome that you and a group of people have really identified that. In obviously, there's business wise, there's opportunity in that.
Absolutely.
Whenever there's a need, but also like just think about what a benefit that is to these young people that have worked hard. And don't even understand maybe what they're going through. Like they just know they're going through it.
That part.
That's awesome. So onrise.care is the website.
Absolutely.
So like if I'm an athlete and I'm just like struggling, like do you see?
I got you. So we are a B2B company.
Okay.
So we traditionally get partnerships, contracts with leagues, teams, players associations, elite youth clubs, academies, things of that nature. So let's say U.S. Women's National Soccer Team, which they won gold. We got the contract with them. Since they're on their contract, if those athletes need help, they can reach out. Let's say Athletes Unlimited. That's a full female league. Volleyball, soccer, lacrosse, basketball. Not soccer, but softball. Any of them, when they need help, they reach out. So we hire retired athletes, equip them with the skill sets, because what we found is most traditional therapists traditionally were older white men, and if they're at a university or even professional space, they can't communicate or relate to the majority of the people that they serve, the demographic.
Yeah.
So if they can't communicate or relate, athletes not gonna go back and see them.
Right.
They might not even go see them at all.
Right.
Just because based off whether it's demographic is vastly different or it might be a language barrier.
Yeah.
So we bring in retired athletes that look differently, speak differently, play all these sports.
More relatable, less intimidating.
There you go. From a peer-to-peer perspective, you know what I'm thinking. You done been through what I've been through, so I'm open to talking to you.
Right.
So that's first level. Second level, if they need to be elevated, then we got therapists and psychiatrists all in-house. But the kicker in traditional healthcare, you got a therapist that's not relatable. I'm not going to go see you. So now my problem gets worse. And then as far as me not seeing you, well, the box is being checked because they got therapy, but nobody's going to see you. So what's the point of saying that you got therapy or a sports psychologist if they can't relate? People not going to go see them.
Right.
Then you're in-house, so I don't trust you because you work for the team or the institution.
Right.
And then it's insurance-based, so now that follows me if I'm trying to go to the next level. So then I got to walk in a room and be seen stigma.
Right.
So we just took all those things and said, make it virtual, telehealth, do it from wherever you are. Make it athlete first, so peer-to-peer support first level. So somebody that you can relate to, been there, done it, lived it, trust. So they got lived experience. Cash, and we charging the institution. And it's HIPAA compliant, so we don't have to reply back on who we talked to, what we talked about.
Gotcha.
So now you're protected.
Gotcha.
So if you did want to go to the next level, it's not going to be hindered by someone holding your record against you because it was cash and it's not insurance based. So those are just some of the primary things that the box check was not fulfilling, but that's why athletes ain't going to go get help. Because if I see you going to lunch with coach, why would I come back and see you again and you just told coach, and now I'm not playing good, but I'm dealing with something, and now he thinks I'm not playing well because of what I'm dealing with, and all of a sudden now that costs me my playing time or costs me my contract.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Man, okay, so from the outside looking in, you would like as somebody who's always been a civilian, would never even like maybe have even thought about
process
all
behind it.
that.
Right.
So which makes me then think like even parents
There you go.
may not understand
There you go.
where their student athlete is coming from.
There you go. So that's why you look up and you see someone commit suicide because they're wondering why they didn't get help. Or what. They might have had resources on the campus, but it's a lot of disconnects for why they didn't use the resources.
Right.
And the people at the top, whether it's professional or college or whatever the case may be, well, we got these resources. Well, are you thinking about it from the athlete perspective of why I would use those resources or why I wouldn't? So we just want to come in and help be that additional service.
That's awesome.
For those that might have services already or those that might not have them at all. And we can do it at a lower price because it's virtual and all those other things. And the cost of having peer-to-peer support first versus a therapist or a psychiatrist is drastically cheaper versus if you got to start off at a therapist level or a psychiatrist level. So just figuring out the model to make it more cost-effective, more affordable, trustworthy, all the variables that the athlete thinks about when going to seek help.
So is this primarily, I mean, being that it's virtual, I mean, you're basically running this across the country, or is it mainly local?
No, cross country.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome. Man, so again, like it's funny, we started off talking about playing football and the degree, and then like just how both of those things have sort of, I don't want to say shaped, but sort of shaped, but was the direction. Like you're still technically football and psychology.
Yeah.
Right?
That was all God right there. I couldn't have planned that if I wanted to. But I say when things don't work out how we plan, they always work out better than we could ever plan. And I think that's a faith thing, that telling somebody that put me in a class that don't require me taking the test, in sports psychology being the one that was the one. And then I learned the most in it, got my master's in it, and I'm able to, I got a master's in sports psychology. I got a book on it. Like I didn't know I was going to write a book.
Yeah.
So it just made more credibility for the book. And then we got an athlete mental health company, more credibility for that, and the work we do. So yeah, that was all a blessing.
So you're somebody, because in a little bit we're going to talk about the foundation that actually kind of brought us together in the first place, but you're somebody who has spent a lot of time helping other people in various ways, shapes, or forms. When you're on a team, there's that old saying, there's no I in team. We live in a very selfish world. Is that would you find that was one of the big struggles when somebody comes out of athletics, that all of a sudden they're on their own, they have to think about them? Like, is there a dynamic there that, because, and I say all that to say, I find that when people pour into other people, I've seen a lot of positiveness in their lives.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I witness it all over the place. But not everybody thinks that way.
So this is one of those things the game teach you, or it shows you. It shows everybody this. In athletics, you're a part of something that's bigger than you. If I'm doing drills by myself and I'm tired of doing these drills, I'm going to quit. I'm doing drills with my brothers, I ain't going to quit on them.
Right.
The T on the helmet, the name on the front of the jersey outweighs the name on the back of the jersey because it's bigger than me. When you are done playing, you got to get a part of something that's bigger than you, because it's easy for you to push through the adversity, push through the hardship, and to make impact. But if it's just you, life get hard, life get tough. Woe is me if it's just you.
Well, and there's a little bit of tug of war with that, because again, coming back to a name, image, and likeness world where it is I want my name to be big because that's the paycheck.
Right.
But yeah, when you step out, like a team, when you're there to help the team, many hands make light work. There's also
a rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah, there's all these but I mean, you look at any really good organization, it's full of good people doing good things.
That's it. I'll quit on me before I quit on us. And if my name is big, it's probably because we're winning and we're doing something right.
Yeah.
If we're not winning and we're not doing something right, my name won't get no bigger than the team. So it goes hand in hand. So even with the NIL, you can be all world, all everything, but if we trash, we trash.
Right.
That don't help your name.
Right.
Because all right, so if you look at it from let's look WNBA. They got this. They're talking about rookie of the year or even MVP talk. Well, when you think about it from let's say rookie of the year, you got Caitlin Clark. Well, her team is in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And she's a rookie that's been balling. She most likely probably gonna get rookie of the year. Now, I would say you got Rakia Jackson with the Sparks. She put up great numbers. They team, I don't even think made the playoffs. Or if somebody want to say Angel Reese, I don't think their team really made the playoffs. So rising tide, the team's doing good, and I did good. I'm gonna probably get the rookie of the year. But if I just did good and the team sucked, it is what it is.
Right.
So it goes hand in hand.
Interesting. All right. So moving right along, you have been a big supporter of an organization called X Hunger, in which goes hand in hand with the Scarecrow Foundation. I'm gonna let you, in your own words, tell people what X Hunger is, because it's pretty interesting.
So X Hunger is our national initiative to help end hunger in America. When we were local, it was called Scarecrow Foundation, but we realized that name isn't scalable or duplicatable. What did we do with Scarecrow Foundation? We did entertainment with a purpose, and those entertainment events helped local food pantries. After years of doing that, we said, okay, how do we scale, and how do we make this thing something that anyone can do anywhere? So that's how the word X Hunger and the mission was birthed. It's still to help end hunger in America. How we go about doing that. One facet is with entertainment with a purpose. So any particular events that we do, for example, coming up, we have some events, Gator Hater Week, Bash Bama Week. Those Gator Hater Week, all those week of events, those proceeds, the awareness, all those things go to help the Love Kitchen. So that's how we help locally in that particular case. Bash Bama Week, all those particular events going to go to help awareness, funds, proceeds, going to go help mobile meals. But when we think about X Hunger from a nationwide, global perspective, we can help end hunger in America just because there are a lot of people out there, and they can all participate by doing LUVS, our Loves program, locate a food pantry, understand this mission, and go volunteer, support that food pantry. So that's the mission behind it. And we just so happen to know that there are a lot of high school and college students that have more time. Adults might have more, monetary value they can donate. But these food pantries versus us creating another food pantry, let's just be a resource to the food pantries. We help the helpers. So
yeah.
How do we help food pantries do what they do best besides going to create another food pantry? So if we can create awareness campaigns, events to do that, let's do it. So with X Hunger and our Loves program, we got a thing called X Hunger Clubs. High school or college students can start X Hunger Clubs. They can do the LUVS, locate a food pantry, understand its mission, go volunteer support. When they go do that for that food pantry, they give that food pantry more boots on the ground, more hands on deck to do what they do best, which helps end hunger in America. And by default, those college or high school students get service hours for it, which helps them, whether that's for their degree, whether that's for their scholarship, whether that's for their resume. And it also, when they're no longer in college, they've seen it up close in person, so they're more likely to go back and give and support food pantries like that. So that's kind of like the silver lining of the double-edged sword of X Hunger and what we do.
I've actually, I guess you call it secondhand, sort of seen it at work. My daughter went to Pellissippi. She actually participated in one of those programs. She heard you speak. We had a conversation about it later. She thought it was, I don't know, I guess she thought it was weird I would have known you. I was like, oh no, I know Derrick, and I think that's awesome. I really like the idea behind helping those that help others, right? Like supporting those that do the work. Oftentimes, I mean, we live in an area, and a lot of people that I've had on this show, we talk about a nonprofit that we support or that we're involved in. And it's one of the hardest things in this area is there's so many.
Yes.
Right? We truly are the volunteer like nation, like that state that we feel it and live it. But sometimes it's like overwhelming, the opportunities to kind of get involved. So to have an opportunity to get involved with something that you know is not competing, you're helping already successful, like people know the Love Kitchen, right? But it doesn't mean it doesn't need money,
Right.
right? Doesn't mean it
Right.
doesn't need help,
Right.
right? But given that, and let's be honest, most nonprofits struggle in the marketing and fundraising sector. That's not their purpose,
Absolutely.
right? Their purpose is to actually help the people.
Work.
To
Right.
do the work. So taking this and like, let's just talk about it. Like, what is Gator Hater Week? Like, what's going to happen during Gator Hater Week?
So Gator Hater Week.
Which I love the name.
Appreciate it. We think we can have fun. We spell it hator with an O because we don't want to promote hate. But it's really cool. We know we're in Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm of all. My partner, Jimmy Buckner, is a Gator. So we say, how do we have fun with this thing? So it's a series of events. And you can go to xhunger.com and look at Entertainment with a Purpose to see the calendar. But all those particular events, whether that's raising awareness, an event that's going to have proceeds, donations, whether it's going to be special meals or food served at restaurants, our golf tournament, even the poker championship, all those events, for one, raise awareness, which you can't even quantify. Secondly, we're gonna have some remotes at different areas. I think the golf tournament, at the Love Kitchen, we're gonna have a couple different remotes going on, and then all those proceeds from that week of events is gonna go to the Love Kitchen. So the whole goal we're doing, awareness and proceeds. And the cool thing about it is, it's entertainment with a purpose. People are gonna go play poker. Well, now they get a chance to play. We got the largest free rolling poker tournament in the Southeast. So people that just want to play poker, more people play poker because it's got a cause behind it.
Yeah.
And they get a chance to win a great prize and have bragging rights. And by default, the money that's raised goes to help the Love Kitchen. People are going to play golf. Golf is an easy one. But when it comes down to it, we just found our way to have entertainment with a purpose. There's some restaurants on there. They're going to be having certain events, whether it's food special or drink specials. Well, people was going to go eat at those restaurants anyway. Well, now that you know there might be a certain special going on for you to go eat that meal or order that drink, and it's going to go benefit a greater cause, why wouldn't you do it? So that's the nature behind the beast.
So that's one of the struggles that I've had with, like, so one thing that most nonprofits do, they always do like a fundraiser. There's always an auction, right? And then there's this struggle with people. You hear people talk about like, oh, like I don't want to pay that much for that. Right? Like, or I could get that cheaper. And it's like, but you got to understand what you're doing. You're donating money. You just happen to get a prize. Right? Like that's the way you kind of got to look at it. This isn't about getting a deal.
Right.
With this, it's kind of cool because you are like, these people want to play poker. They want to go golf. They want to go do whatever the event is. They get to enjoy it. And at the same time, the proceeds go to benefit a nonprofit. So that's awesome. I will make sure that the link for this is wherever you're watching, listening to this, there'll be a link for X Hunger, and it's xhunger.com, entertainment with purpose. And you've got it all lined out here, like the Poker Classic, Bash Bama Week. There's all sorts of other stuff on here too. But that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we appreciate that, Eric. The name of the game, we wanted to remove the ego. And like you said, there are a lot of good organizations out here, but I found this, me and Jimmy, we talk about this all the time, is in the world of doing good, sometimes we got to check the ego at the door, because if we really want to do good versus starting something that got our name, brand on it, why don't we just help the people that's already doing the work? Mm-hmm. So versus us creating another food pantry or someone that, like, how do we continue to help the helpers? And sometimes that's that check that we have to do as people, because it's already, like you said, it gets overwhelming when you got a lot of the same people doing the same things, but then they're jockeying for the same donations.
Yeah.
So nothing gets done, or they're jockeying for the same time on a calendar or a schedule. So someone feels slighted. If we can get past this whole ego, which I think the game of sports teaches you, a rising tide lifts all ship.
Yeah.
If we do good as a team, we all get drafted. Like that whole thought process. If we do good as individuals, we help end hunger in America. If we do good by helping this, the goal of why we started, or why you was going to start yours, is achieved. Like, we can make a bigger impact versus, well, I want to start my nonprofit, even though it's 17 other nonprofits doing the exact same thing. So I try not to speak on it too much, but it's real.
And I understand, good intentions, like especially now. I get it if something grabs your heart, like if you're all in on it. I mean, I know. Um, well, I just had Larson J,
That's my
who,
man.
and he's got the
Flowers.
yes.
Random acts of
Flower.
kindness.
Yeah, yeah, well, that.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
got
yeah.
that. But that came from his own personal experience.
And that's a great one because I don't think nobody was sending random flowers to someone.
Yeah. Also, I know another real estate agent who, and I'm gonna draw a blank on her name, and I apologize, but she went through an ordeal with when her husband passed, and we didn't have a hospice house.
Mm.
Um, and she's poured her whole life into making a hospice house here in Knoxville. So like, and there was also was not that's not a competing thing.
Exactly.
But that like touched like so. Knowing that, like, if that was something that was heavy on my heart, instead of going out and trying to create another one, supporting her in her mission would be equivalent, if not better. I think that is awesome, and having seen it, like I said, I know it had an impact on Hannah. So I thought that's pretty cool.
Appreciate that.
One other, moving on to one other thing, and you probably are involved in way more than just this stuff, which is amazing. But already, we've covered a lot. I'm in an organization called the Chairman's Club. And through that organization, I've been introduced to 100 Black Men of Knoxville, which you are a part of. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that.
So the 100 Black Men, the whole goal is to help inner city youth, primarily young men, because we know that most of the fathers are not in those homes. So we believe what they see, they'll be. So when it came down to it, I got introduced in 2017, somewhere around there. But I grew up with a single mom, raising 3 kids. Now, my dad was around, but he wasn't in the household.
Yeah.
So understanding the value of what they see, they'll be, we need to have some other examples, because depending on where they're growing up at, normally inner city, the examples, probably not the best examples that they're going to see, which right. I was fortunate. I seen the drug dealers and the street guys. They had nice shoes.
Yeah.
But they also was around a lot of police, and I'm like, I don't really like police like that. So I got a chance to see it and wear my own pros and cons. Youth these days, they see in the same thing, and can they weigh the old pros and cons of just because I see this person, I want to be like them? Who knows? But we want to give them a group of men that they can see and be like if they choose to, and at least equip them, empower them, educate them of what it should look like to be a man, and educate them on some of the things that they might not get a chance to talk about in the household just being raised by a female. So we do a lot of different events, mentor sessions, educational sessions, trips together, trips to college. So just exposure, because the name of the game, if you can see it, you can be it. But if you can't see it, you don't know it's possible.
So I think that is I think like a massive point. Like when you live in a bubble, you don't know what is possible. I've seen this, and we have this issue also in other parts of our state in different realms. So like my mom and my brother live more northeastern Tennessee, more in the mountains, yep. Right? And you can see in the culture there, most of those people grew up there. They've lived their whole life there. They've maybe have never even been out of that county, yep. Or those neighboring counties. So they have no idea what life is like in Nashville or Atlanta or at the beach. Some of these people have never been to the beach. Right? So what that does is that really closes off their mindset to this is just the way life is. This is how we live. This is what we do. So to be able to see that there are opportunities, or B, things are possible. And it's hard growing up. I mean, I try to think back, like where, what were those things for me? But I was lucky that I had certain employers that showed me things. Mm-hmm. If you don't have that, like, yeah, where would you be? So I think that's awesome. I love I don't know if you call it the tagline, the slogan, the mission. Maybe it's the mission statement. Real men giving real time.
That's real.
And that, like, first of all, to say so much with 5 words, that's pretty awesome. Real men giving real time, and it's successful men spending time with people who we were talking about. Like, there's athletes that learn by example, and then there are those that are just going to make the mistakes. Being able to show an example.
That's it. That's it.
That's awesome.
Everybody want to give an opinion, but sometimes you got to give an example. And I firmly believe that when it comes down to exposure, I think that's what the game did for me. It exposed me to other opportunity. It exposed me to what's possible. So it's only right to be able to expose the young generation behind me to other opportunity and what's possible as well.
Man, and just to think about the experience. Number one, you saw things on a way bigger scale.
Yeah.
Right. Then I mean, even if you're inner city Knoxville, like, you don't even see Knoxville for what all it is.
Right.
Right. So then you also got to travel.
Man, look, that travel piece. First plane ride, California, UCLA. Bowl game, bringing in the new year somewhere different. That right there alone stays with me every year. Reflect, refocus, refuel, bringing the year somewhere different. That came from football, from the bowl game. That was so cool. I'm like, this is what I'm going to do every year.
Yeah.
But the exposure to that, I never knew that was even possible until I got exposed to it.
And so, like, knowing that there's an organization that is doing exactly that, I think is awesome. That's one thing that I've always kind of struggled with is we like to pinpoint problems. There are organizations that try to help in many different ways, but a lot of times they're helping the symptoms, right? They're the what comes from, know, oh, we're gonna work on drug abuse, homelessness, all of these side effects of what could have been avoided by, example, exposure, some caring, right, at a young age.
That's deep right there. That's deep.
Well, I mean, but that's exactly what you guys are trying to do here.
It. That's literally it.
If I pour into this young person, like, and take time to show them, which time you mentioned earlier, people have typically one or the other. They have time or they have money.
Yep.
Right. So when you take somebody who has less time and they can they still make time to spend with somebody else, that's powerful. It's meaningful. Hopefully the fruits of that will be very tangible.
Yeah.
Right? Because I mean, that's obviously what we all want to see. We want to see, the end result.
That's it.
It's hard to a lot of nonprofits. It's hard to end hunger.
Right.
It's hard to end homelessness because I think those are cyclical things that are going to happen to people. But man, you could end a lot of that by starting there.
That's real.
So I think that's awesome.
Thank you.
So if somebody wants to get involved, obviously, so I deal with this a little bit with the Chairman's Club too. Like, it says, like, we're 100 men with a purpose, but it's not capped at 100.
Right. It's definitely not capped at 100. We so the process, they go to 100bmok.org and inquire. From that, it'll go to one of our recruiting chairmen. I think that's they go to Bill, and from that point, since we're dealing with kids, background check, things of that nature comes through. And then from that point on, you get a chance to get voted on. But the process is simple. You just need to show interest. And we're always looking for good men to come in and help because, like you said, everybody's busy. Everybody's limited on time. But the more, the better, the more impact we can make. So that's how people can get involved with as far as being part of the 100.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And we'll make sure to put a link down below. But again, it's 100bmok.org. That's awesome. So we're kind of at that point in the show where we start wrapping things up. We've covered a lot. Is there anything we didn't cover that you would like to get out there?
Man, I don't know. I think you did an incredible job, Eric. Man, you had a lot of good things in your bag that you pulled out. So I don't know if there's more that people don't know or would like to know. But if all else fails, I think we gave them a good amount of chew on for sure.
I think so. Hopefully people, if you listen to the show, I feel like you should be number one inspired. Inspired by the fact that we have so many people that do great things for our community, that take time out of their day to give to others, time, talent, and treasure. Those are the three things that we have to give. I think it's awesome. I think your story is awesome from my perspective as you're not just a football player. But you took that as a springboard. You got your education. You then not only did that, but you took that as an opportunity to help others. And I'm glad we had the chance to tell it on this podcast.
I appreciate it, Eric. I'm fortunate. I've just been able to get in alignment with my assignment and all the things along the way. When you know what you're moving for and why you're here to do what you do, and things will work itself out.
In alignment with my assignment, man, I feel like I need to get that tattooed on me or something. That's awesome. All right. Well, so we're gonna wrap up for today. Again, look for the links down below. If you're listening to this or watching somewhere there's no links, reach out to me. I'm happy to connect you with these great programs. And let's just go out there and make a difference. Again, I'm Eric Whitener, broker owner of the Knox Real Estate Group. I'm here to help people buy and sell homes. Obviously, having a roof over your head is pretty important, and we take great pride in helping people with those transactions and transitions. And with that being said, we'll catch you on the next one.